Come on, let me hear you again. Good morning. Good morning. All right, turn to the person next to you and say, I'm glad you came this morning. Now, in the few minutes that we have, I was trying to think of what can I share with you that could also be transformational. How many of you would like to have a transformation today? And to me, transformation is something that I spent the last 35, 40 years of my life in the personal development space, because I realized when I was very young and I was in school and I got introduced to a mentor, then I was very curious about what is the formula for success. And this man had become so successful, and he was the leader in my industry, and he said to me, you know, most people think that the formula for success begins by having. You know, most of us say to ourselves many times, I can't accomplish this because I don't have the money. I don't have the right contacts. I don't live in the right place. I don't know anybody in this space. And then after having, they think that is by doing. So if you have something, now I can do something with what I have. And then ultimately, it's about being. And what my mentor said to me, he said, you know, it's so sad that people have it backwards. Because to truly be successful in life, you must first be what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And what's interesting is that being doesn't require necessarily having, because it begins with a mindset. You know, many of us are hearing about the word mindset. Well, mindset was not popular in the early days. When I started this journey, I never forget, I was 19 years old, and I was invited to a program called Silva Mind Control. That was my introduction to personal development. They had offices in over 65 countries, and Jose Silva was a Texan that wanted people to understand that the mind can actually be altered. But when you study neurology, they kept telling us that the brain doesn't change. And now the new science of neuroplasticity has taught us that the brain is always adapting to your environment. But in those days, I was 19 years old, I began to implement what I was learning in college. I was just starting college. And within a year, Jose invited me to speak around the world with him, talking about Morella, talking about the microphone, to share what I had done with that concept. You see, transformation is not about learning something. It's about applying. It's about doing what it is that you're learning. So the being begins with your mindset, right? What is it that you want to be? And my dear friend Stephen Covey taught me one of the greatest lessons in my life that says, the secret to life is to begin with the end in mind. What is it? Where do you want to end up? You know, I'm going to be 59 in a couple of weeks. And one of the things that I love about my journey is that I feel younger today than I've ever felt. My body is actually regenerated, right? My spine right now. I took the x-rays that I took when I started chiropractic school in 1987, and I compared it to my recent x-rays, and I can tell you that the x-rays today look like I was 21 at the time. There is no arthritis in my spine. All of my discs are perfect. My curvatures are perfect. Why? Because I get adjusted at least once a week for the last 37 years. I never miss it. It's one of the foundational health behaviors that I have. So in the mindset, you got to begin with what it is that you want to be. When you know what you want to be, what happens is that your mindset rises to a different level of thinking, which lets you identify a new behavior. You know, my dear friend Les Brown said to me the other day, he said, you know, people are going to go into 2025 expecting new outcomes, right? In the media during the New Year's, right? The biggest time that I get demand for is the New Year's resolution. Everybody wants me to talk about New Year's resolution. What are the top resolutions out there? And what happens is that you can show up. You cannot go into 2025 with the same level of mindset that you have in 2024. That makes sense? Yeah. Because you will continue to do the same things and not have the results that you're looking for. So in order to have a transformation, it begins with your mindset. You have to become something that you're not being right now. right? And whatever that is, if all of a sudden I look around my industry and I see somebody doing something special, how can I upgrade my level of thinking to think like that person? The best way that I have found over the last 35 years, I go interview them. I find 3 people that have accomplished something that I want to accomplish, and I simply ask them, is it possible for me to interview you and make up something? If you don't have a podcast, say you have a podcast and you want to interview him for a podcast. You know? Or I would like to share your knowledge with my tribe. Maybe your tribe of 2 people that live with you. But people love to share information, right? But when you interview them, now you can ask them, so tell me a little bit about, how do you wake up every morning? What's the first thing you do? You begin to understand not only their mindset, but their behaviors. When you upgrade your mindset, now your new behaviors, right, your doing is different. And when you change your behaviors, guess what that does? It allows you to have the things that you really want. So what I have found is that in order to accomplish that, there are 3 questions. And I want you to write this down if you can in your phones or in your notes. There are 3 questions over the last 35 years that I have identified to be the critical thing in order to be able to achieve and create the fab life. 9 years ago, I had a lunch with a friend of mine, Brandon Bouchard, and I had gotten him this gig in LA with 15,000 people. And Brandon was so thankful to me because both of us were the keynote speakers. And he said, you should start a mastermind. And I said, I don't want to do a mastermind. So I came back home and I created what I call a mentorship. And I've had over 250 CEOs, influencers, entrepreneurs in that program over the last 9 years. And what I have taught them and what I have seen in them, the first question that you ask yourself to be able to transform, to manifest the life you want. I call it the fab life, not because fab being me, but because it's your fabulous life. It's your ideal life. It's the life that you deserve. It's the life perhaps people around you are telling you can't have. Or maybe you grew up in an environment that said you couldn't have it. But let me tell you, you can have it. And it's up to you to have it. First question you want to ask yourself is, what do I really want? The number one thing that keeps us from achieving our goals is lack of clarity. Many times we think we know what we want, but we find ourselves saying different things to different people. That's a first sign that you don't really know what you want. You could feel with Dr. Kellyanne, she's very clear about her mission. Did you doubt that? Woo. It was very clear. Does it make you want to take that bum broth right now? Yeah. Right? Why? Because she lives it every day. See, I learned from another dear friend of mine, John DeMartini, that your level of certainty has to be higher of those that you're speaking to. If her level of certainty was less than yours, you will never engage into what is she promoting. So think about, how much do I believe in who I am? Mirella is giving you the microphone, right? What level of certainty are you going to speak to us about that's going to make everybody in this room say, I need to have what she's having. I need to do what she's doing. That's certainty. So what is it that I really want? Be clear about it. And if you don't know what you really want, then spend some time being quiet, because you see, inner wisdom whispers. Most of us are so preoccupied with the outer voices, everybody telling us what we should be, what we should look like, what we should think like, that we forget to listen to that little voice that whispers inside, that always knows what you were born to be. The second question that you need to ask yourself is, what is keeping me from having it? You see, most of us are distracted with everybody else's agenda. Most of us don't even have a clear agenda, what I'm going to do from the moment I wake up to the moment I wake up to I go to sleep. And what I've learned is that when your agenda is not full, then other people's agenda become your agenda. And therefore, your day is going to somebody else's agenda. So make sure that you identify any distraction, anytime you're wasting, anytime you're doing something for somebody else instead of working on your mission, on your values, on your goals. And the last one, and this is the most important one, what must I do today to achieve it? Because transformation only happens through action. And you have to be very clear, what is it, how are you going to spend your time? You only get one day. right? I live by a philosophy. I almost died when I was 16 years old. I go to bed every night not expecting to wake up. That's been the secret, one of the foundational secrets to my success. I don't take anyone or anything for granted. Every single day counts. Every moment counts. Every moment counts. You see Mirella's discipline in traveling all over the world. Wouldn't she be more comfortable being home, being hugged by Ian, just having fun, enjoying London, right? But no, she's here with us. Why? Because she cares about us. So you need to understand what is it that you must do. And I put the word must because there's no choice here. What is it that you must do today to achieve it? And then when you realize that, now you have the 3 questions that would allow you to achieve anything and create that fab life. But then I'm going to give you one more. My mentor used to call it the baker's dozen. When bakers used to have breads, they will give you 13 pieces of bread instead of 12. That's called the baker's dozen. They always give you a little extra. Why? Because when you surpass the expectations of your customers, you will always succeed in business. Right? That was the philosophy behind it. And what I learned in the extra is that the key to transformation is making a better choice today that you made yesterday. You see, most of us are beating ourselves up because of what we didn't do. Or we beat ourselves up for the mistakes that we made. But you can't do anything about the past. The past is there to show you and teach you what you're made of, what you can be. So make a better choice today, whether it's your health, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your business. Every single day, your choices count. And if you want to be more successful tomorrow, you must make a better choice today. And that will lead you to where you want to be. God bless you. Thank you for being here.